Am I the a-hole for suspecting that my best friend is sleeping with my father? My dad, 54, and my best friend, 20 female, let's call her Sophia, have been acting suspiciously for quite a long time. She means suspicious for quite a long time? I've always sensed a little tension between the two of them that sparks up whenever she comes over, with my dad finding ridiculous excuses to leave the house, and her getting all awkward. I always attributed it to them being introverted. I know this is not enough reason to suspect if something is going on, but things have been playing out weirdly since then. I and Sophia became friends in 2018 and have been close ever since. She's almost as close as family and helped me get through 2019. That's when my parents got divorced. My younger brother, 19 male, and I have been living with dad ever since the divorce. Sophia and I used to hang out at least 5 to 6 times a week, but lately it has come down to us hanging out only twice a week. Coming back to that topic, last time we hung out, it was her place, and we were getting down to our PJs after an engagement party we'd attended together. The plan was to catch up on our movie nights we'd skipped for the past 2 months. So she was taking a shower while I was tying my PJs on her bed, and that's when I noticed a bracelet on her nightstand. Found it to be really pretty. By the time she came back out, I had already long forgotten about it. Fast forward to 3 days ago, my dad and I were tracking the shipment details of my aunt's birthday gift when a very familiar bracelet caught my eye in the past orders list. Amazon has it, and I immediately recognized it as the one I'd seen on Sophia's nightstand, or at least it was completely identical to it. Another reason that fueled this very weird suspicion was when my dad abruptly canceled on a family dinner about 2 months ago, calling it a work emergency. So we simply decided to reschedule it. Having no other plans, I called up Sophia around 7 p.m., only for it to be answered on the first ring. I didn't even get to say the first word when she almost breathlessly asked me about my day. And I do tell her about the canceled dinner and ask her about her plans, which she declines by saying she had to meet up with her mom that same day around 8. And then something weirder happens. I hear Elton John's Tiny Dancer play in the background, which is my dad's ringtone, followed by an abrupt silence. All this happens while I sit beside my brother who had just dialed dad. I asked her about the sound, and she said that it was probably the Google Home malfunctioning. I wish this was the only reason why I was suspicious of them. About 2 weeks ago, I invited Sophia to a family dinner with us. My younger brother was bringing his longtime girlfriend, so my dad said it would be a good idea to see if Sophia wanted to join us too, which was odd, but I thought he just didn't want me to feel left out. I ended up inviting her, and she said she'd join us. My dad is always in charge of picking the restaurants, and this time he decided to pick out a new place of a few miles from our neighborhood, and it coincidentally turned out to be the place Sophia was pestering me to go with her. I thought this was a lucky coincidence, but I still couldn't help but find it a little odd. Things got weird when my dad went on to order the food. I picked out a dish, and so did my brother and his girl, and dad didn't wait for Sophia to say what she wanted to have and order a dish for her. She didn't seem to have a problem with it, which was crazy because Sophia is a very picky eater, and also because it's kind of rude to order for someone without asking them. I confronted my dad then there, and he said that he didn't realize it and it was just a lucky guess. Sophia seemed very visibly tense and uncomfortable, just kept asking me to let it go, since I didn't want to spoil everyone's mood, so I didn't stretch it out farther. I confronted Sophia about it yesterday and was met with an argument which included her denying all the claims and calling me crazy for even thinking about the possibility of it. But she ends her sentence by saying, "Even if we were, how would that affect you in any way or form? I would still be your best friend and he your dad," which I did not pay heed to in the heat of the argument, but that came back to me later in the day. Am I the a-hole for jumping to conclusions, or am I really going crazy? I think you're not going crazy. Your daddy and your little weird friend are trying to gaslight you. I'll be so disgusted and upset if my father, 54-year-old father, was messing with my best friend, let alone my 20-year-old best friend. Whom, if this girl and her best friend only known each other since 2018, and they're 20 now, and it's 2024, how old would the girl be in 2018? How if I was 8? I'm 23, turning 24 in May. I was 18 in 2018. So how old would a 20-year-old be in 2018? Like 14, 13, around that age? Like, sleeping with a girl you basically saw grow up is disgusting. But I'm gonna look for an update, y'all. I really want to know how this story ended, but I couldn't find a update. But anyways, on to the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend I am uncomfortable with him referring to my house as our house? My boyfriend, 43 male, and I, 42 female, have been together just under 2 years. I have 2 children, both elementary age. I share custody with their father. Until recently, I was renting an apartment after I split with my ex-husband. I just bought a house, and I am so happy to be creating a new comfortable home for my children. Getting this home feels like a major accomplishment for me, and I am proud that I can provide a better home for my kids now than during my marriage. I care about my boyfriend deeply, but I'm not in a place where I want to live together with a partner yet. We have been both in stressful long-term marriages and don't plan on marrying. We have discussed this many times. He wants us to live together in the future. I told him I want that eventually, but I can't give him a time frame for when I may be ready for that. He gets along with my kids very well, but I'm reluctant to have him in a stepdad role for various reasons: mental health issues and alcohol abuse, which he says he's actively addressing. He has a living situation that is less than ideal and has been leaving things in my home every time he stays over. It started with some clothes, now it's a keyboard and a guitar and a spare TV. I feel like this is a method of moving in without officially moving in. He has started using the term our a lot: our house, our bed, our kids. I started a discussion about how it makes me uncomfortable that he behaves basically like we live together. When my kids are at their dad's, he's always over, and I have to basically ask if I can have nights home alone sometimes. I require regular recharge time alone for self-care and don't get the opportunity often. He reacted pretty angrily because he said the terminology ours doesn't matter because we are 2 adults in a loving relationship. He sees things as ours because he cares and helps out. I see it as him not respecting my boundaries. Am I being selfish and immature because I'm not quite ready to share? Am I overreacting to his use of the word ours? Honestly, OP is a grown woman and she can do as she pleases. But the idea, like, she said that he has several of issues, alcohol issues. Like, he has issues with alcohol. He has issues with something else that I can't, for the life of me, I can't remember. He keeps moving things into her house. He keeps acting like her stuff is his. This might be a classic case of a homosexual. He just might be homeless or needy or something. But at the end of the day, I just can't get over the fact that she said, oh, I don't see him as a stepfather after 2 years of us being together because he has all these issues. If you don't see someone being a step parent to your kids because they have issues like alcohol abuse and such, why are they around your children to begin with, and why are you in a relationship with them? Either OP doesn't know how to set boundaries and this man is just a weird man, or this man just needs help and he's trying to get it by moving into OP's house and using up OP's space. So he's trying to gaslight and manipulate her into thinking we're in a relationship and we're supposed to be moving in together. We're supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z. So why are we not doing that? I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I wrong for telling my mom she's dead to me if she mentors my bully? So my 60 male mom, 40s, is a teacher at my school. Our school has a special elective you can take, which is being a teacher's aide during your elective period. It's most likely stuff grading papers for them, making copies, mentoring, etc. It's pretty much always just the teacher's favorite student at the time. I found out at the beginning of the semester that my mom chose Dave, 17 male, to be her TA. Dave has made my life a living nightmare since middle school. He has bullied me mercilessly, both physically and emotionally, since 6th grade. I don't want to get into everything he's done to me, but everyone is fully aware of it, including the school and my parents. There have been countless meetings with school administration and suspension on his end, but it never stopped him. Since we've been in high school, I haven't had to see him as much, which is a relief, but the times that I do are always terrible. When I found out that he was her new TA, I was obviously very hurt and confused. I asked her why she wanted to spend extra time with someone who made my life so terrible. She said that she had him in one of her classes and that he really isn't such a bad kid, but he has a really terrible home life that she can't tell me about that makes him act out. For the record, my mom has always had a soft spot for kids who come from bad homes. I reminded her all the things he had done to me, and she said that she understands, but he really needs help right now. I told her I get that, but why does it have to be you? We have a huge school full of teachers and staff who can mentor him. Why does it have to be you? She told me stop being selfish, and some kids have it harder than I can imagine, and she's just trying to help. I was honest with her and told her that if she continued to have him as her aide, she was dead to me. She was choosing him over me, and she would no longer be my mother. I would no longer talk to her, and the minute I turned 18, I was moving out, and she would never hear from me again. She rolled her eyes and said I was being dramatic, but after a couple of days of ignoring her, I was grounded. It didn't change my mind, and my dad then tried to force me to talk to her. I still refused, so they pretty much took everything away from me one by one for the past few weeks. I no longer have my car, computer, guitar, and most recently, my art supplies, and I have to come home from school and go straight to my room. I'm not allowed out except dinner until I start talking to her again. They don't realize that this is just strengthening my resolve. I'm going to sit in this empty room every day silently until I'm 18, and they'll never see me again. My mom keeps coming and crying and begging me to talk to her, which makes me feel kind of bad, but she still won't remove Dave as her aide. Am I the a-hole for taking this too far? I just feel betrayed. I don't think OP is the a-hole at all, because at the end of the day, if it's actually as bad as he says, one thing about kids is like kids can be so cruel. Kids are OMG. People say adult bullies are worse, but children can be so mean, malicious, disgusting when they bully you. And then on top of that, like when you're a child, it's so hard for you to deal with bullying because you can't comprehend why someone would be this mean and malicious to you. At the end of the day, if somebody bullied my child that bad that the other child was always in suspension 24/7, I'm not giving them no damn aid. I'm not helping them, and I'm not getting near them. The school is big. There's a lot of more teachers. There's more staff, like OP said. There's so many people that can help him. If he needs help that bad, then he can go somewhere else. At the end of the day, I'm not ruining my relationship with my child, especially my child who got bullied for some random bully. He's 17. David's 17. He can find someone else to mentor him. Okay, there's an update. I'm sorry I stopped answering everyone's questions. I just kind of freaked out when this blew up out of nowhere, and I almost deleted it a few times because I was scared someone at school would see it and recognize me. Everyone letting me know that it's not my fault helped a lot though, so I felt less embarrassed about someone I know potentially seeing. Nothing has really changed, but a lot of you made a good point that if I'm really going to this route, then I need to come up with a plan for what I'm going to do when I get out. I considered the military like some people suggested, but then I remembered my school has a special trade program. You go to our school for a half a day, then spend the other half at our local community college taking grade classes. I think, depending on what you are doing, you can get an associate degree or whatever certification you need by the time you graduate. I went to my guidance counselor during lunch today and told her I wanted to switch to that program. She acted really surprised and asked why I did. I want to change now since I'm already taking AP classes and I'm on the college track. I told her I didn't want to talk about it, but I would need to be ready for independence when I graduate, and this seemed like the best way. She said it might be too late to change this semester, but she would look into it for me and let me know. But yeah, the story is pretty new, so there's really no other update, but that's all OP said. But what do you guys think? Am I the a-hole for calling divorce immediately after finding out my wife emotionally cheated on me? I found out my wife was cheating on me emotionally last week. I found it through a notification when she was in the shower. We are both 33 and married for 6 years. In my eyes, everything was good. Funny how one can hide their betrayal without other party noticing. I confronted her right away and told her to open the phone to show me the messages. She refused first but gave up after I told her we were getting a divorce. The texts were not that old and there were not many. It was obvious most of them were deleted. I asked her questions about the affair. Why? Who? Where? How? I will not go into details as I want to stay anonymous, but I was trickled truth in the end. She got caught and trickled truth me. What does trickle truth mean? Every day I learn something new from this app. I do not believe her and what she said about the extent they went. At the beginning of our relationship, I made it very clear that cheating in any form is a relationship ender. I told her to get a lawyer because we are getting divorced. She asked for marriage counseling, promised to change, and even make her life completely dependent on me. Leave the job, not leave the house, and give me all of her digital devices. I told her where marriage counseling would help us before she decided to have an affair. We could go to marriage counseling and solve the problem there by talking whichever problem she had. Instead, she went on to have an emotional affair and made sure to actively hide things from me by deleting text and trickle truthing. I reminded her my boundaries and what I told her about them in the beginning of the relationship. I will hand the divorce papers to her this month, and she's telling me to reconsider. Am I the a-hole in this situation? OP is definitely not the a-hole, first and foremost. And second of all, I feel like if you feel the need to cheat on someone anytime in your relationship, whether it be you guys are boyfriend or girlfriend or you guys are married, then you just might want to go get someone else. Like, I never really understood the idea of going behind someone's back, talking to someone, hiding the text messages, hiding an entire, like, going to work for 8 hours and coming home stresses me out. I cannot imagine having to maintain a lie that big where I need to maintain a relationship with my boyfriend or a relationship with my husband and another relationship with an affair partner. Like, that's a lot of work and it's very unnecessary. I don't know. Personally, I can never be a cheater because I'm just too damn lazy for any of that. And I just feel like cheating is such a betrayal because obviously this is just an emotional affair, which is obviously even worse. Not even worse, but physical and emotional affair are both nasty work. At the end of the day, it's just really nasty. It's so sad. It's so ghetto and ratchet. Some people just have no morals and they have no dignity and they have no pride because at the end of the day, if you had any ounce of dignity, you would respect yourself and not have an affair. I feel like if we came from that perspective and shamed people and said, oh, the way people say, oh, well, if you sleep with so many men or so many women, you have no respect. We should say, if you have an affair on your partner, then you have no self-respect and you're a coward. But anyways, I'm rambling. One thing about me, I really love these stories because it just gives me a chance to ramble and talk about God knows what. Anyways, please let me know in the comment section, what does trickling the truth mean? Every day there's something new I learned from these stories. Trickling the truth, does that mean like hiding the truth or lying? I don't know, but yeah, what do you guys think? Am I the a-hole for kicking my girlfriend out after she called me a crybaby for crying over my dead niece? I met my now ex-girlfriend 4 years ago in college. Until now, she seemed like the type of woman I would want to marry. Extremely kind, genuine, and genuinely a joy to be around. My big sister and her husband had a daughter at the beginning of our relationship. I couldn't be more happy to be an uncle. She was the cutest thing in the world to me. I tried to be that cool uncle to her and would always try to find time for her. My sister would regularly bring her over to my place for me to babysit when she had something going on. My girlfriend, to my knowledge, also seemed to get along fine with her and wouldn't be against babysitting her with me. The best moment I shared with her was when my sister showed me a drawing my niece made about me in kindergarten. I was literally on the verge of tears seeing that. A year ago, my world turned upside down when my sister gave me a call crying. That one sentence still rings in my head from time to time. She told me she was diagnosed with leukemia. To say I was devastated would be an understatement. The past year was really tough for all of us. I spent most of my free time with my sister and brother-in-law in the hospital. Seeing that poor girl with all those tubes attached to her really broke my heart. I would regularly bring over balloons and make those balloons animal for her. I learned how to make those while working at a carnival when I was young. As a result, I spent less time with my girlfriend. She seemed like she understood until her cancer grew worse. From Saturday to Sunday, I was either in the hospital or was drinking myself to sleep. One day, my girlfriend just seemed to ignore me on our 3-year anniversary. I brought her flowers, a cake, and made her a card. My girlfriend, on the other hand, didn't get me anything. I pressed her about it, and that's when she said something that probably was a sign of what was to come. She just told me, well, it doesn't seem like you care, so why should I get you something for someone who cares more about a child that's going to die anyway? I don't know what she was expecting. Long story short, I threatened to kick her out and tell everyone I knew, including my sister, is a close friend of hers, what she just told me. She apologized and told me she wasn't thinking straight and something like this would never happen again. I eventually forgave her and we moved on. My niece passed away last week and it's been the worst period of my life. I've basically been crying myself to sleep every day and have been spending a lot of time with my sister to console her. Something that caught me off guard though is that my girlfriend seemed a bit too happy at the news of her passing. She just smiled and said, "I'm so happy she isn't suffering anymore and is in a much better place now," with a big grin on her face. Yesterday, I overheard her talking with one of her friends over the phone. I just came home from work and I guess she didn't hear me walk in. I just heard her, "A real man wouldn't cry unless it's his child." That caught me off guard and I kept listening. She said more awful things about me being a crybaby and how I shouldn't be so attached to a kid that isn't mine and so on. I loudly coughed to get her attention and just saw the life draining from her face. She tried the whole "let me explain" BS, and I just told her to pack what's needed and I'll get her dad to come pick her up. After a solid hour of begging, she finally gave up and packed her things into a suitcase. Before leaving, she tried spitting at me, but just ended up spitting on herself. Her mom called me a few hours later, begging me to give her a second chance. I know I shouldn't have said this, but I just told her to go F herself and her mentally unstable daughter. I basically emptied half a bottle of Jack Daniels that night and went to bed. I woke up the next day with text from my sister. She told me my ex told her everything that happened, understood me kicking her out, but I should consider giving her a second chance. She told me my ex seemed sincere in her apology to her. She asked what Lily would want my niece. Not gonna lie, that kinda broke me. My niece loved my girlfriend and would always run to her and ask her to play Barbie with her. I feel like I shouldn't be upset if my sister forgave her, but at the same time, I feel hurt by her calling me a crybaby. Before the diagnosis, I've never really cried in front of her, and her comments hurt me deeply. I feel like I can never open up to anyone again, let alone her. Am I being irrational here? Absolutely, positively not. Like, she just kept saying worse and worse and worse comments and things. Why would you forgive her? You shouldn't forgive her the first time she said, "Oh, I don't care about our anniversary because you seem to care more about a child that's going to be dead enemies." Like, what? Am I the a-hole for confronting my brother-in-law for allowing his daughter to get so out of shape she can't even walk a half mile without needing a rest break? My brother-in-law, husband's brother, is a single father to my niece Cindy. For some context, I've always made a point to encourage my kids to be active and have a good relationship with exercise. Bill isn't the same way with Cindy. My daughter bought Cindy a pair of skates from her birthday so they could go together, but Cindy tried once, failed too much, and lost interest. She mostly likes to play video games at home and spends a lot of time in chat rooms. And it's fine to have hobbies like that, don't get me wrong. But here's the problem. When we the girls were out shopping a few weeks ago, we were going to take a break and grab lunch at a cafe in the shopping center. It was a half a mile walk on a gorgeous spring day, and Sydney couldn't do it. She needed to sit down and take a break. I did not make a big deal out of it to Cindy, and we just hung out with her. I pulled Bill aside after and told him what happened. He didn't see the issue. I told him that she's only 14. She shouldn't have any trouble walking, that I'm worried she's going to develop health issues or it's going to get worse. He got very defensive and accused me of saying he's a bad parent. I told him no, he's not a bad parent, but that it's alarming that his daughter can walk a half a mile and that she might need to see a doctor. He got even angrier and said that I was overstepping and to back off. I put my hands up and just said, "Okay, I won't say anything more," and left. I know how it feels to have your parenting criticized, so I understand why he got defensive. But was I truly so out of line to express concern for my niece? I wasn't talking about forcing her into after school sports and running laps. That's a great way to make a kid hate exercise. But I fear for things getting worse and her not being able to climb stairs or something in the future. And then OP said in the edit that the child isn't overweight by any, like the child isn't overweight, they're not fat. Anyways, I don't think OP was wrong. At the end of the day, it's not like she yelled at the daughter, she embarrassed the daughter, she body shamed the daughter. She didn't really say anything to her niece. She let the niece be her, and they were letting her take breaks, and they left her alone, and she pulled the father aside. At the end of the day, if you're a family, it's good to tell each other, and remind each other of things. Like, that's what being a family is about. If my sister or one of my siblings sees something wrong with my child and they say, "Hey, I think this is what's wrong with your child, you may want to fix that or you may want to pay attention to it," that's not a dig on my parenting. Like, I feel like people have such big prides and egos that they use their pride and ego for the worst. Like someone telling you, a family member who just is trying to, like, I know when it comes to like people, family members, aunties and uncles, the way they talk about kids' body types and kids' body shapes, like it's disgusting a lot of the times. But Opie didn't seem like she meant any harm. She just said, "Hey, I feel like my niece is having some health issues. She's not overweight, so maybe she just needs." And just because somebody's skinny doesn't necessarily mean that they're healthy. If you're not active, you're not working out, you're not running, you're not walking around, you're just eating junk food and you're sitting down all day, that and you're skinny, that doesn't mean you're healthy. Plus, there's this lady on TikTok that feeds her children, her little daughter, donuts for breakfast. Kids like have the right. Kids are really big responsibility, and you need to take care of them each way you can. And if someone just tells you something, then just take it. Like there's no reason for someone to be upset just because they told you, hey, your daughter isn't healthy and she needs to go see a doctor. She didn't call your daughter names. She didn't say anything bad about the daughter. She didn't say anything bad about you. She was just trying to bring attention to the child's health issues. And a 14-year-old girl who's not fat or who's not overweight not being able to walk a half a mile on a spring day is a bit concerning. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband I am no longer attracted to him? The title makes me instantly sound like an a-hole, and I'm aware of that. For some context, it slowly started after our second kid. Second child is almost 3 and youngest is 4 months old. After our second child, he was sending messages to IG models about how beautiful they were, and one reached out to me to let me know. Of course, he denied it, but she sent me screenshots, so there was proof. While I was pregnant with our youngest, he was hitting on a coworker and taking her on. Wait, she was already sending random women this, and then she decided to get pregnant again? Well, anyways, while I was pregnant with our youngest, he was hitting on a coworker and taking her on lunch dates. He doesn't know I know about this because I never said anything because I knew he would lie and I was over it. This last incident is what pushed me to no longer find him attractive and just see him as a creep. I walked up behind him and he was going through a girl's OF account. Normally, I would not care, but he paid to view her stuff. When I asked to see his phone, he tried exiting really quickly, but I grabbed the phone anyways. He had been searching this girl on Facebook, Instagram, and OF and went as far as creating an account and paying to view her photos. This last one just made me look at him different, and I no longer find him attractive and told him this. He thinks I'm overreacting and an a-hole for saying he isn't attractive to me anymore. So she's basically asking, what do you guys think? I personally would never, ever, ever be with a man who's addicted to explicit adult stuff. Men who are very obsessed with random women who go as far as to view random naked, like the naked woman on the internet wasn't enough. You have to pay for a random naked lady. Like, that's disgusting. That's nasty. And the fact that she kept having more kids with him is what's so mind-blowing. Because oftentimes, you always see women complain about these type of men, but they're always continuing to have more kids with them. I don't want to blame her because we don't know the situation fully. But at the end of the day, he doesn't sound like he's going to stop. Sounds like he has an addiction. And if he's paying for things, he's probably sleeping with random women. And I suggest OP gets out before she gets some sort of diseases that will never, ever, ever go away. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband that if he pays me hourly rate, I will do more housework? I'm a steam fitter, but I've been at it for a while and I'm supervision. With bonuses and incentives, but not counting benefits, I earn over $100 an hour. I also work out of town. I started doing that once the kids were old enough to take care of themselves with their dad at home. So when my youngest was in middle school and the oldest was a junior in high school, it's great. Our retirement savings are piling up and we have been able to splurge on the kids. My husband is upset, however, because I decided to pay for a cleaning lady. He and I discussed it and we agreed that him and the kids didn't do a great job keeping the house clean and tidy while I was away. I hated coming home to a mess. It caused a few fights because it was like they expected me to come home and clean up after them. Having her is fantastic. I come home to a clean house and I am happier. My kids have more time to study and do extracurriculars. They still have chores and they are still expected to clean after themselves. My husband came to me last time I was home and said we should cut back on the service when I'm home, that I should be doing more housework. He thinks that we are wasting money. I said that I work 14 days in a row and that those are 13 hours. Yes, it's mostly paperwork, but his job as a teacher isn't much more physically challenging. I said that I could offer him two options. If he wanted, we could completely get rid of the service and him and the kids could make sure the house was in good shape when I got home. Or he could pay me my hourly rate to do extra housework when I am on my days off. He is upset with me and says that I am being financially manipulative. I think if he and the kids actually did what they are supposed to do when I'm away, none of this would be an issue. I personally think that OP's husband just wants her to be under his thumb and financial control again, because if she's paying for it, the job is getting done one way or the other. What exactly is the issue? Whether she stays home and cleans and cooks 24/7 or whether someone comes in and she pays for it, as long as it's not hurting anybody's pockets, what's the issue? At the end of the day, isn't the house clean? I don't get it. Like, some people are just very weird. Am I the a-hole for telling my son to pay back the money he spent on his online girlfriend? I, 45 mil, have a son, 16 mil, that loves to play video games. I purchased him a PlayStation 5 for his birthday last year, and he plays online with friends. He's been telling me that he has been chatting online with a girl, 15, female, and they have slowly started dating. They don't talk over the microphone as hers broke, and he has no idea what she looks like. I told him to be careful on what he sends her and to not give her any personal information. My son has his own credit card with a limit on it, and I told him not to go over the limit and only use it for emergencies. I got the credit card bill for this month, and there were charges repeatedly for the game he plays, in charges of $50 to $100. I was furious as he gets gift cards for the games for his birthday and Christmas. I approached him with the bill and asked him what the charges were. He told me that his girlfriend wanted new stuff for the game and would break up with him if he didn't purchase them. I told him that I would pay the charges and that he would have to pay me back the money. I told him that there were many jobs that would hire him. He got angry with me that he wouldn't have time to work as he plays sports in school. I told him that if I was able to balance working and school, he would have no problem doing it. I took his credit card away. He's not speaking to me now, and only if it's regards to being picked up or needing a ride to see his friends. He's mad that I'm making him pay the money back and get a job. Top comment. Your son is 100% being scammed here. There is no girlfriend and you desperately need to step in and stop the situation. OP replied, I will. I have spoken to him about the dangers of scammers online before. I will have him block all communication if they're still chatting. Yeah, why do I get the feeling that this 16-year-old girlfriend is probably not 16 or a girl? Because nowadays, kids are talking to random people on the internet. They're always and the thing is, like, grown weird pervs and scammers are seeking out young, impressionable children, and they're seeking out elderly, impressionable people, scamming them, taking away their money, making it seem like they're in love with them. This is literally catfish. I remember that one show back in the day, Catfish, where people were talking to random people on the internet, and then the person would be catfished, and the person will, like, meet the other person, and it's not what they were expecting. But yeah, online is very dangerous. Obi clearly needs to, he doesn't need Reddit. He needs to take quick action before his little beloved son ends in a ditch somewhere, because nowadays people are very, very crazy and weird. Plus, now that social media is so prevalent, is that the word, prevalent? Like, it's easy for pervs and weirdos to seek out children on the internet, because, like, a lot of people, once they know they're weird, they hang out in spaces where they can get away with their weirdness. Like a grown adult male hanging out in some teenage boys, online groups to play games and stuff. But yeah, OP doesn't need to be asking if he's an a-hole. OP is going to be asking, what did I do wrong, when his little son is victimized? So he needs to step in as soon as possible. Am I the a-hole for playing cheating songs whenever my dad's side piece walks in, causing her to have a breakdown? Hi, I don't want to appear like a brat, so I'll put some context first. I, 16 female, and my three brothers, 10, 12, 13, we had a happy home life until my mom saw my dad with his mistress and his other children at another church she was volunteering for. Things hit the fan on my dad's side and he was disowned. The divorce happened. He married her within a month of his divorce and he got married on the day our sibling died. It was effed up time and I hated him more as every day passed. Our feelings and opinions were ignored and we refused to visit my dad. They threatened to give my dad full custody and we'd never see my mom again if we didn't cooperate. Unfortunately, we saw him every weekend and some weeks during the holidays. It's been 2 years and we hate them both even more. I don't speak to her 6 children, which she has reprimanded us all for this and took food, clothes, toys, games, etc. away until we submitted. I used to hoard food in my room that I shared with my youngest brother, and we'd stay in our room until it's time to go home. As of recently, she's taken the door from my room as she found the food, and we would have had to. Is that is that legal? Isn't that considered child abuse technically? She's taken the door from my room as she found the food, and we've had to sleep in the living room. And we are not allowed to leave unless we need to use the bathroom, which we've got to ask permission for. Anyway, I've got sick of her bull and started playing cheating songs on full volume. She's been screaming, shouting, crying to my dad, so I stopped doing so until she walked in the room. And if she stayed in the room, I kept playing them and singing along. This has been our new normal for the past couple of weeks now, and my brothers have joined in too. I will not allow my mom or sister to be disrespected or have them try and force me and my siblings to call her mom. We don't want to be there, never have, never will, but they just don't get it and are selfish and self-centered. Last week, she had a breakdown, which I don't feel is my fault. However, her mom insists it is, and I sent to the wilderness camp for troubled teens. Her three eldest have realized how she met her dad and have refused to visit her in the hospital too. Am I the a-hole? For a young girl, OP has a lot of pride and ego, and the fact that she can't stand that her dad and this new woman are trying to disrespect her mom. Like, this is me. There's nobody I hate more in God's green earth than somebody who disrespects my mom. Top comment. Withholding food from a child you're responsible for is neglect and abuse. Record every time they do it. The courts take an exceptionally dim view of it. And then someone responded to that saying, not to mention, you cannot provide adequate living space for a non-custodial visit. Forcing them to be without a door or to sleep in the living room can be grounds for termination of forced visitation. That's literally a child abuse because why in God's green earth do why she's a teenage girl, she's 16, she needs her privacy, and even if she was 2 years old, at the end of the day, this is literally just so sad. I really hope this man stops treating his children like some toys to fiddle with. Am I the a-hole for saying that I would be more devastated if my twin brother passed than my fiance? There is some backstory that I have to get through. I, 24 female, have had two brothers, a twin, and an older one, 26. We've been really, really close since childhood. Brothers doted on me a lot, and I clung to them like a little sister. We were best friends. Then when we were 12, 14, our parents got into an accident and passed away, and we were sent to live with our uncle. We could tell that they didn't really want us, but since we don't really have any other family, they took us in so we wouldn't be in the system. So we spent most of our teenage years being ignored and relied on each other for emotional support. As the years went on, things became a little more manageable. We were able to function more. We were still close, but life started happening. We got jobs and all went to college, and that's where I met my fiance. When it came time to introduce my then boyfriend to my brothers, they all got along well. And now that we're engaged and living together, things were still going well. But then a few months ago, my older brother got in an accident, a drunk driver. A few days after it happened, I just wanted to be by my twin. I couldn't stop crying. I was paranoid that something might happen to him too. Whenever I'd come home, I noticed my fiance growing distance from me. He was there when I would need to talk to him, but he wasn't the same. I tried to ask him, but he would just dismiss it, and I barely had energy to even get through the day at that point. Things were just starting to calm down. Then, few days ago, after coming home from lunch with the brother, he snapped on me. He told me that I'm acting like I don't care about him anymore, that I care more about brother than our relationship. I don't see that. I'm there with him every night. We live together. I make sure some kind of dinner is made when he comes home from work every night. He asked me, why couldn't you cry to me instead? Or why couldn't you ask how I was doing? I thought that since that was our brother, Twin could truly understand some things he couldn't, and I didn't want to burden him too much. We both said some hurtful things, and out of nowhere, he asked if I would feel the same way if something bad happened to me. In the heat of the moment, I said I would be devastated, but not as much as if Twin was to pass. I regretted saying it, but things were so heated, and I felt like he wasn't even trying to understand me. Why would he even ask me a question like that? That was our older brother who passed. I can't fathom handling any more of my family passing. I said something horrible, but why did he had become so cold? It's been about 2 days since this happened, and after getting some outside perspective, I wanted to see if maybe we could at least talk it out, regardless of how I'm feeling. But all he could focus on is what I said. And to be honest, considering some of the hurtful things he said to me, I can't say anymore that I regret saying it. Top comment. And I quote, look at me, it all has to be about me. Why can you cry to me instead? And I quote, your fiance has some serious issues, and this should be a red flag for you that he can't empathize with you and expects to be with the center of your world. He's not taking the reality hit well. Yeah, not the a-hole for bursting his bubble. How he handled that will tell you what you need to know. This girl literally grew up without her parents, grew up with people who didn't care about her and, you know, neglected her. And then now her brother, honestly, when I was reading the story, this was just like, I just read it for the first time right now. I honestly thought that he was like at the hospital or something. She didn't mention that her brother passed right off. She just said my brother got into a car accident. So when I read that her brother actually passed away, that made me so sad. Now she only has one living family member. Like, she went through all of that. Her brother literally just passed. This is not months and months and years has passed. This is literally freshly new. She can't even get some time to process this, to think, to hang out with her brother and to cry it out and to be feeling sad and depressed that her older brother, one of the only two people she had, literally passed away. What? Why can you cry to me? Why can you ask me how I'm doing? Buddy, nobody died from you. It's not that serious. Her brother literally passed away. She has the right to feel sad. And the funny thing is, like, when people get emotionally, like, if she was like to dump all of this on him, he probably would have said, "Wow, this is too much on me. Like, why are you always crying to me? Go to your brother." Da, da, da. Like, people like this, you can never satisfy them or make them happy, because no matter what you do, they're always gonna complain about God knows what. But that's so sad. Like, these type of stories make me so sad. I am so sad for OP. Wow, to live without your family and then your older brother dying and then being neglected as a child. Oh, that is so sad. Am I the a-hole for asking my wife for a divorce? I, 41 male, have been married to my wife, 36 female, for over 4 years now. She has two kids, boy 16 and a girl 15 from a previous relationship. We live in a house that is hers. I moved right in after our marriage. Things were good initially, but the last year I have been feeling misplaced and honestly exhausted by the arrangement that we have. Now, I knew she was a package deal when I married her, but I didn't realize the amount of time that was required for me to put in. From the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed, my wife barks orders at me. It can be anything from garden work, working on the house, going shopping, picking up her kids from extracurriculars, anyways, tutoring them, which is a whole another can of worms. It's her mom's birthday. It just never ends. I feel like I never have any time for myself. I never get to hang out with my friends anymore or do the things that I'm actually interested in. One of the things that is demanded from me is spending time with our kids, tutoring them in math and physics, which has been extremely frustrating as I don't see them pursuing STEM related career, but my wife has convinced them that they should become research scientists. I'm also required to tutor them in chemistry, even though last time I studied the subject was in high school over 20 years ago. I don't remember much, which requires me to read the textbook, learn the material, and then spoon feed them the information. This takes up at least 8 hours of my time a week, and when they come back with a C on their test, it's automatically my fault because I didn't teach them well enough. They also attend tennis and piano lessons, and I am often required to and from practice. I also have no privacy in my own home. There are always people there. Either her friends or her sisters, she has 3 of them, or the kids brought their friends over. I feel like the house basically has revolving doors when anyone can come and go as they please. Not this might be my own personal problem as I am an introvert. I prefer my own space without any outsiders in it. The catalyst occurred about last month when I was required to go to IKEA, get a desk, assemble it myself while she spent 6 hours making spaghetti for dinner while talking on the phone the entire time. And when we went to bed, she told me to tutor her oldest in math. As I was, I'm sorry, but he never knows how to say no. He just keeps doing it and doing. As I was laying in bed, I had this awakening of why am I putting up with this? I used to spend time with my friends. I used to sit home and play video game all day and eat pizza. I used to go on trips. Why am I in a situation that doesn't benefit me? I realized I am basically supporting cast member in my own life. Last week, I sat her down and we had a mature conversation of me winning a divorce. To my surprise, she didn't scream or yell, and she tried convincing me to stay, and after back and forth, I told her I was going to give it time, but in the meantime, I have moved out and staying with my parents. I do love her. She's basically the one of my dreams. She has a lot of great qualities, but I just can't do it anymore. When I finally told her on the phone that my decision is final, that I would be filing for divorce, she called me a selfish and immature and told me that I had wasted her time by proposing to her. I honestly don't know if I'm doing the right decision now. When we were alone together, things are great, but it's the everything else that exhausts me to the point that I have to leave. Am I the a-hole? Clearly OP is a people pleaser because it sounds like he's the maid, the tutor, the chauffeur, the nurse. He's literally everything in that damn house for some kids that aren't even his. Ugh, I definitely wouldn't put up with that. And I don't think I feel like if your wants and emotional wants and needs are not being met, then you should definitely get a divorce. Top comment. Info. OP, you say your wife is the woman of your dreams and has a lot of great qualities. I read through your post and failed to see any of the great qualities you're referring to. What makes her the woman of your dreams? What are these qualities? Then someone commented, boobs, I presume. And then someone else said, it's always boobs. But yeah, it's actually sad, and he does need to get a divorce. I don't think OP is the a-hole for wanting to leave the situation, and I didn't hear not a single great quality. The qualities talking about knowing how men work is probably what the commenters are saying. Am I the a-hole for asking my fiance to tell my mother-in-law I don't want to wear her wedding dress? I, 25 female, am engaged to Dan, 26 male. I didn't really think about my wedding dress, and as we planned the wedding venue, catering, and sorted everything else before, my in-laws pitched in for most of it, and I covered most of the smaller things. I don't speak to my extended family, and my parents and sisters passed when I was younger, so Dan's family are also my close family too. Last month, mother-in-law showed me her wedding photos and offhandedly said this is the dress you will get married in and pointed to her wedding dress. The dress is mother-in-law's grandma's and the last 2 generations have wore it. To be honest, it's not my style, and I said, oh, I don't think it will fit as a way to politely decline, but she said it could be altered to fit me. I really don't want to wear that dress, but my mother-in-law keeps mentioning it, so I have to put off wedding dress shopping. But she isn't getting my polite hints, and saying no outright seems mean, and she has gone out of her way to get me involved in the family, so I don't want to offend her. I told Dan the situation, and he said that mother-in-law considers me a daughter, and if I say no, she won't be offended, but I asked him to talk to her on my behalf, and he refused to, as he said he didn't want to get involved in a situation between me and his mom. I don't know her very well, so I don't think we are that comfortable for me to say no outright, and I'm upset at Dan for refusing to step in, and he said I'm being unreasonable. The story was posted like a couple of hours ago. It was just recently posted. I really hate when these like juicy stories don't have updates as quickly, but obviously people live in real life. They can't just, update things that quickly. But let's read the top comment. Not the a-hole. I think you tried to politely decline and your fiancé should be more on your side. People telling you to stand up for yourself aren't considering that you've already politely stood your ground. In my opinion, your mother-in-law is being awkward by imposing her preference on your wedding. Picking his mother's side over yours is not ideal in a partnership. Unfortunately, I think you're out of options other than to say you're really excited to select your own wedding dress with family and friends. Let her know that's what you're doing and then proceed with buying your dream dress. Congrats. I hope you're able to get through this awkward situation. Oh, and then OP replied saying, "This is what I've said. She knows I have gone to try dresses on with my friends and has said the perfect one is already at home with her. So I need to stay looking." And she said, "So I need to stay looking?" What does that mean? But it doesn't sound like a joke anymore. No, obviously OP needs to stand her ground. She's getting married, and people get married when they don't stand their ground, especially grounds, and then they don't set their boundaries, and then stay. Because there's one thing of setting your boundaries and saying, "Hey, I'm not okay with X, Y, and Z," and then there's one thing on actually standing on your boundaries. Because people say they have boundaries, but then they always let people cross their boundaries. OP just needs to tell her mother-in-law, like, "I am not comfortable with wearing your dress. It's not my style. It's not an ugly dress, but I just don't want it. If you are, if you want to, you can come dress shopping with me. We can go to different places, and then we'll see what I like, and then you can be there," which will be like, which could be a special bonding moment since her mother died. You know, that's a better option. And then if OP's mother-in-law says no, then clearly OP's mother-in-law just wants issues, because you can't really force someone to wear something that they don't want to wear, especially on their wedding. I don't think that's how that works.